A mother's love is unlike any other, and one of a kind relationship that can never be compared. It's unconditional and only grows stronger over a lifetime. Up to the very last moment in choosing the time to go, my mom has considered about the children more. Why? Because she left at Friday, 17 July at 11:50 p.m., just 10 minutes before dinner. I remember that the doctor called me at home, and just a few minutes before that, I was just telling my wife, because I was preparing for my leave next week on her, is that they are always so jealous and so inspired by her because of her special, quiet taste for fashion and personal grooming. She pays a lot of attention to that, and I think it has inspired many of them in a way. And they also commented that she's a very, very generous person among friends, always contributing, to gatherings and outings and all that. Even when they all arrange to be on Dutch, she will be the one to take care of all the bills and all that. If my dad was around, what would she say? I've always heard him, ever since I was young, mentioning about my mom. And he always say this word in Chinese, Wai Qiang Zhong Dan. That means you look strong on the outside, but inside is always weak. And because she had a weak condition, medical condition as she was young, that kind of like gave her a little bit of toll as she worked and stressed out a little bit too much. And because she's also a pretty demanding person, she gets very agitated and very strong when it comes to certain situations. Get her into that moment where she will fall sick a little bit more easier than normal. So, but she's a kind woman to her. Very genuine, very kind. My sister has did a little bit of her text, Rachel, and I'm going to read it out for her on her behalf. She's not going to be here on video. And it goes like this. My mother, as you all know, was compassionate and loving woman. Also a brave and strong woman who was ready for all challenges when she first made her way here to Singapore to be Mrs. Chia. During her younger days, she lived in the neighborhood of the Imperial Palace. She had fond memories of her father Yoshio, who worked as a chief chef or executive chef at Fairmont Hotel. Her eyes were lit up when she boasted that how she gets her to eat danishes during festive season made especially for her by her father. It was then a delicacy that was hard and expensive to buy those days. Mother had a wish for one of her children to be able to have daily conversation in Japanese, so she literally tells Reiko herself that it would be ideal if she could do that for her. So Reiko said, I had no choice but to comply, and thanks to her, I am trilingual now. When I told her that I had no intention of getting married, she said, even if your marriage should fail, you should try it once at least. I can't believe what I heard, but thanks for her words, I'm happily married for 31 years now. Last but not least, I think everyone who knows her well knows my mother is a very generous woman with big heart. She'll be missed by all, but her memory will live on in us forever. Love you, Mommy, and we'll miss you more than words could say. That's from Reiko, who's in Tokyo right now. So, my second sis who did a video eulogy played earlier, and I hope that all of you here have caught that, and it's something that I do that here, so that's for that. Thanks to Reiko and Suki for all of it. Now it comes to me. I have two stories to share. I think I have a bit of time to share two stories about my mom. She was a little bit, not much of a mom type to me because working mom, I was born in May most of the time. May was the busiest period for her, and so are all the festive and holiday seasons. So I didn't get much time to spend with her birthdays and all of that. She's always working, and the only time I interact with her is like, can I have $5? So I'll tell you how generous she is, because if you ask her for $5, she will usually stretch you 10. That's how she does it. I tried asking my dad $5, and he would say, he'll tell me a long story about how I would be able to get by with only 10 cents. So my dad is on the extreme end. My mom is totally generous. He asks her for $5. She usually gets double or whatever that is more than sufficient. So that's who she is. And I learned two things from her actually. The first one that has impacted me in my career as a frontline and sales and marketing person, and that's selling, to be a salesman. I watched her once when I was 16 years old as a tour guide. I participated in one of her operations. She had a delegation of about 50 people, and she led the tour from arrival, and she took me in as a sort of like assistant, and she paid me $25, and I watched her move and I saw how she communicated with everybody, and I learned, from that moment how good she really is when it comes to sales, because she sells a lot of options. During the time, I think that's how she made a lot of money as a career. So after that tour operations, I ended in a hotel at Mandarin Hotel, that old Mandarin Hotel in Orchard. And we went up to the Japanese restaurant. That's what they usually do, have a drink, at a sushi bar after work. She ordered a couple of sushi for me, and we just had a little drink. I was 16, but I was having juice, I think, or maybe I had some beer, I don't know. But the bill came up to be $250 that night, just two of us, during those days. I was just thinking to myself, I made $25 from all this half day's work, and I'm never gonna be able to afford this. So she said, you want to do? Go into marketing. And so that's what I did. Sales and marketing, even though I'm finance and accounting trained. The second part is about the story of a wallet. So she said to me that it doesn't matter how much money you make, so that's not really how good you are as a person, generally speaking. It's how you manage your money. It's not about how much you make, it's about how you manage your money. So she told me a story about her grandmother, how my grandmother, her mom and her dad met in Japan. He was a chef, and one day the taxi came, he got off the taxi, he was on it, he got off the taxi, and he was about to close the door when my grandmother reached out to the door and tried to open it. So it slammed on her hand and kind of like fractured it. So he had to take her to the hospital immediately. And when he reached the hospital, my grandfather, my mom's dad, had to take out his wallet and pay for the taxi fee. She took a glance at the wallet. It's a huge wallet, well organized, stacks of cash inside, very neat presentation. And one looked at it, she said, that's the man I'm going to marry. And that's how they got together. After she shared the story with me, she showed me her wallet, my mom, Fumiko. I think my sisters may be probably a little bit more familiar, and she usually had this nice ladies' wardrobe, and the carts are well organized inside there. Cash stacked in order of denomination, from smallest to biggest. All the faces are in one line. You want to tell how a person organizes his own personal finance, you start by looking at his or her wallet. How many of you have seen friends or yourself having wallet very big, thick, there's lots of stuff inside there, all kinds of rubbish? Well, my dad is like that. He's got a big wallet, he's got all kinds of name cards, restaurant cards, irrelevant stuff, notes that he took in small notes and just stuffed it into his wallet. Maybe even toothpick sometimes. So all kinds of rubbish are in there. So he told me that. And I was just wondering, after all these years, did she ever look at his wallet before she decided to get married with him? Because we all know, after 50 years, things didn't go quite right with the finances when I was part of my dad's concern. So. But I guess love conquers all. She loved him because he's got big eyes. Some of the photos he has seen. He himself is also a very particular person. Likes to pick on things, select things very carefully, and he's a pretty good buyer. So he can buy things pretty well, and my mom likes him for his taste to some extent. So for those young folks, some of y'all looking to get a wife, get a husband, probably first thing first to check on him or her is how they organize their work. It tells a lot about their personal finance. So I hope that with this, I'd like to just end this true story and tell you guys a little bit more about my mom, one way or another. Now, before I sign off, I'd just like to thank all of you guys for being here. Grateful. And to my two sisters, Rachel in Tokyo and Shizuko in LA, as well as my cousin, Madeline. I think she's joining in from Australia too. Grateful for all of y'all to be able to stream in. It's quite a difficult time these days to be able to manage large crowds as we all know. And for that, I'd like to say a few things to my mom. Mommy, thank you for being a great mom. Reiko, Shizu, and myself will always have fond memories of all the great things you have done for us. You will be reunited again with those souls that have left earlier than you. Your beloved dad, Yoshio, Oba-chan, Imako-san. Your husband of almost 50 years. Your sisters-in-law and great friends too, Jiko, Toko, and your sister, Machiko-san. And of course, last but not least, Neil. All of us here still have many chores to do. I don't think we are ready to join you yet. But until then, we'll be loving you. Thank you.